Someone is back there, right? 'Cause someone
Yes.
went early. Okay.
I see Mike.
Evening, everyone. The time is 6, Wednesday, January 10th. I call to order the Planning Commission meeting at 6. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the statement of values. Vice Chair, if you could please read.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Statement of values. As we gather, we humbly seek blessings upon this meeting. May we act with strength, courage, and will to perform our obligations and duties to our people with justice to all. Let us seek wisdom so that we may act in the best interest of our people, our neighbors, and our country. All this we ask so we may serve our community with fairness and respect, putting their needs before all.
Thank you. Please have a seat. We'll move to the roll call. The Commission has received information from Commissioner Boozer that he's unable to attend tonight's meeting. Elizabeth, please call for the roll.
Commissioner Bhatnagar,
Yes.
Commissioner Biagini,
Present.
Chair Kuru,
Here.
Commissioner Wang,
Here.
Commissioner Salem,
Here.
Commissioner Crutchlow.
Here.
Thank you.
We do have a quorum, but we need a motion to excuse Commissioner Boozer ahead.
I'll make the motion to excuse Commissioner Busa.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Biagini, and second by Commissioner Crutchlow.
Sorry. Please cast your votes.
That was quick.
Great, thank you.
Thank
The motion
you.
passed. Thank you.
We now move to declaration of commission procedures. Vice Chair Bhatnagar, could you please read for the record?
Yes, Chair. Declaration of Commission Procedures. Public hearings are conducted by the Chair in accordance with the following procedures. The Chair of the Commission directs all activity during the hearings. All comments shall be addressed to the Commission. Any item on this agenda may be continued to a subsequent hearing. Applicants will be allotted up to 10 minutes to present and justify proposals. Following staff presentation of the item, other speakers will be given up to 2 minutes. The applicant is allotted up to 5 minutes for rebuttal of comments. No additional comments will be accepted upon the close of the public hearing, although the Commission reserves the right to direct questions to any speaker on any matter. Special procedures or time limits may be applied to any items as prescribed by the Chair. And finally, appeal of Commission actions must be filed in writing within 7 calendar days. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Copies of the current agenda and staff reports for each of the items on today's agenda are available from the Planning Division office on the Friday afternoon preceding the meeting and also available online. Continuances and exceptions. This part of the meeting allows for applicants, members of the public, or other interested parties to request an item to be 1, continued without hearing, 2, withdrawn, or 3, taken out of order. Are there any requests from members, applicants, public, or commission for a continuance or exception on any item on tonight's agenda?
We do not have any requests.
We actually do have a request for a continuance for the backup generator item. The applicant is requesting to continue that, and we will renotice.
We will renotice because we don't have it to a
Yeah, we
date
don't have a
certain.
date certain, yeah, so we'll go ahead and renotice that one for another hearing, once that hearing date is determined.
Wow, that's an interesting turn. I think it was the only meaty item. Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
sorry.
Well, we
And
started
let me-
with a very happy new year.
And, yeah, and that was the first item on our public hearing agenda. Sorry that,
That's
usually
okay.
there's an item number, but there's not.
All right. So just for the record, the item that's requested for tonight's continuance is the only item, and it's for the 4 emergency generator install at McLaren Data Center.
Correct.
And that was actually a continuance from a December 6th to
That
date
was.
certain today. So should we open for,
Well, without a date certain, there's really no value because we can't, we'll need to renotice anyway, but it would be appropriate to still take a vote to continue
okay,
to a date uncertain.
okay. Just wondering if there are members online for this item?
Well,
It
you're
doesn't
going to, you're certainly, we would need to then open the public hearing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, you're certainly welcome to do that.
Do we need to make a motion to continue?
Yes, but it depends on whether or not you'd like to actually take testimony tonight, whether you first open the public hearing or simply continue it. Why don't you?
How would you suggest?
Why don't you go ahead and declare the public hearing open, and then entertain a motion if no, after you see if anybody can speak. After you see if anybody's here to speak. I'm a little tired. Forgive my lack of English.
Okay, it's still very early in the year, so we understand. Okay, so this is for, again, members online who are waiting to hear the item for tonight's agenda, the public hearing, which was a continuance from December 6, 2023, for action on conditional use permit to install 4 additional emergency generators at the McLaren Data Center located at 737 Matthew Street. We have a request from the applicant to continue this item, but we are aware of members online. If we do have any, let me know, and we will open public hearing. If not, we can just move with the motion. Are there members online for this item?
I see no hands raised.
Then we should just move.
I'd like to make a motion to continue this item, even though we don't have a date certain.
To a date to be continued, to be determined.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. I second.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second, and a public notice will come out on whenever it is ready for scheduling.
Commissioner Botnagar, can you cast your vote?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, very good, thank you. Thank you, and the motion passed, thank you.
Well, on that, moving to the second order for public hearing today.
Public
have-
presentations first.
Do we have a
Public
presentation?
presentations.
No,
Oh,
public
I'm
presentation.
sorry. Okay, it wasn't on this. Okay.
I know.
Public presentations. Thank you, yes. Items listed, this order, public presentations, I'm sorry. My brain is also still warped.
It's going to be a long year.
Exactly, it's going to be, and it's pretty contagious. Okay. This part of the agenda item is for any member of the public who'd like to address the commission on items not listed on tonight's agenda. Are there any members of the public who would like to briefly address the commission? Woo, thank you. Welcome. You made our day.
Why, thank you. You guys are so welcoming. Okay. Good evening. Good evening, Santa Clara Planning Commission. My name is Angela Adams. I'm a field rep for Carpenters Local 405 in San Jose. I stand before you today as an advocate for the policy that I believe will ensure responsible and ethical development in our beloved city of Santa Clara. It is a policy that holds the power to benefit both our community and the developers who operate within it. I urge you to consider and implement area standards for any tax exemption granted by our city. Area standards encompassing I don't know if it's, encompassing critical elements like healthcare, local hiring, apprenticeship, and a livable wage are the cornerstones of responsible development. These standards are not merely regulations, they are a commitment to the well-being of our city and its residents. First and foremost, let's address the matter of healthcare. It is unjust that any developer should receive tax exemptions without ensuring that the employees working on their projects have access to quality health care. By implementing these standards, we demonstrate our city commitment to the health and well-being of our workforce. Local hiring is equally vital. Santa Clara residents who pay their taxes and contribute to our community should have the opportunity to work where they live. This can not only keep families together, but also foster a strong sense of community and belonging. Apprenticeships are essential for growth and development of our workforce. These programs help individuals gain valuable skills and ensure that our city remains at the forefront of its innovation and progress. Excuse me. By setting these area standards, we can be assured that the developers and the general contractors are committed to the responsible and ethical and sustainable growth of our city. These standard acts as a safeguard, ensuring that corners are not cut and that the development benefits both the developer and our community equally. I'm sorry. I challenge each and every one of you, esteemed members, to embrace this vision and make area standards a policy for all future construction in Santa Clara. Let us stand together for the greater good of our community, ensure that residents have a chance to work where they live and earn a livable wage, while holding developers accountable to a high ethical and quality standard. I look forward to seeing an ordinance or policy by the draft and vote on the future agendas items in this body and city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. As
Thank
you
you
know,
so much.
the items heard under public presentations are not for discussion. They may be referred to a future agenda and or to city council to be further considered. But thank you for being here. And I think a member of the commission would like to make a request to you.
Thank you. City, what I would appreciate if we could have a copy of what you just said that you could give to city staff so they could distribute to all of us. Would that be okay? Yeah. Okay.
We want to add in there that city council has to make
Yes.
this decision, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it will be agendized for a future.
Yeah, but I think you lined it up so well. I'd like for us all to have a copy of it. Okay.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other members online who'd like to address it for any item not on tonight's agenda? Again, there are no deliberations or will not be lengthy discussions.
I don't see any hands.
Okay. Seeing no other, moving on to the next order of items, to the public hearing. As already noted, under previous continuances, the one item has been continued to date uncertain. And then we have the second item, which is discussing, and it's not on my notes, so I apologize. Give me just a second. It's the Planning Commission Strategic Planning Session in preparation for the upcoming Joint City Council dinner meeting on January 30th, 2024. I think this was an email reminder, and I'm hoping commissioners sent your topics of interest to staff, and we will hear them.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So at the dinner on the 30th, There will be a slideshow presentation, and what I'm going to go through this evening is a draft of that presentation. We do need to have someone give the presentation. I assume it would be the chair, but I will leave that up to the commission. But that person will be presenting these slides at the beginning of the discussion with the council members. So I'm just going to go through real quickly, like the few slides. It's only a couple slides, and then we'll go back to the discussion on your priorities that you really want to talk to the council about. So the first slide we have is just a reminder of what the Planning Commission's duties and powers are. You make recommendations to the council on general plan amendments, zoning of property, changes to our zoning code and land subdivisions. And then secondly, you take final action, except in the event of an appeal, on any use permit, variance, or major significant property alteration for historic structures. So just basic information for everyone. And then the next slide is your accomplishments from the calendar year of 2023. I'm going to confirm the final action numbers I have here because the chair and I differed on a couple of them, but 13 use permits, 5 variances, 4 significant property alterations, and 1 appeal.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah. And whoever's giving the presentation, if you want, I do have notes under there that, lists the type of use permits they were: outdoor play areas, alcohol, a car dealership, an ambulatory surgery center, and so there is that additional information. And then the appeal was for a single-family residence, in addition to a single-family home. And then noting for the variances, there was 1 denial, and that was of the electric fence. Otherwise, all the other actions were positive. And then for recommendations, we had 4 general plan amendments, 8 zoning changes, and 4 subdivisions. The general plan amendments and zone change number does include our housing element, the zoning code update, and the downtown precise plan and form-based code. And then additional accomplishments to keep our commissioners up to date and informed. You all attend conferences, and last year, we're going to confirm these just one more time, but these are the ones we paid for, the ILG conference and the APA conference. And then you're going to go into your priorities. I know, sorry, this is really small. This is the slide from last year, and these were the 8 priorities that I had written a memo about that was going to be sent to council, but priority setting actually never happened. And these were the items that this commission was interested in talking to the city council about: reviewing our infrastructure, data centers, objective development standards, a vacant building ordinance, communication between the Planning Commission and other government bodies, changes made to conditions of approval, creating an entertainment district, and adopting equity statements for all of our city policies. So this was just a reminder. We did receive comments from all of you for this year's priorities, so thank you. And a number of them do overlap. And I have that on our next slide for us to talk about. So this is really going to be the meat of our conversation tonight, is these 12, and maybe if you're interested in any of these ones that weren't mentioned in the 12 that I have on the next slide, really need to be pared down into something you can succinctly talk to the city council about your really high priorities in the hour that you're going to have at your dinner. And so I'll just say, really the ones from last year that didn't show up this year was objective development standards, concerns about changes to conditions of approval after a project was approved, and then equity in all policies. So just for your note. And I'll go over these quickly, and Chair, I'm going to leave it to you on how you want to structure this discussion, but this is a compilation of everyone's ideas that were sent. I didn't put every word, but I do have every word here in case you want. Data centers, a majority of you did mention data centers in some form or fashion. Standards, creating standards for architecture and power usage and location requirements. The entertainment district, again, around Great America, Levi's, and the related Santa Clara project. Understanding our resource supply to support growth. This one I kind of put here, I thought maybe it could also be a study session item, as there were a number of those in the comments as well. EV charging, having a policy for accessing public EV chargers in city-owned parking areas, partnering with companies to provide free charging, increasing EV charging requirements, and that would be a policy for the city. We do have a REACH code with minimum requirements, but this would be an increase to that. Promoting solar, providing maybe solar panel subsidies or incentives. Smart traffic lights. Environmental programs, garbage and recycling. There was a concern about the annual cleanup campaign and how people were being fined for improperly disposing of their waste during that campaign. Housing solutions, so possibly policies on tiny homes, movable modular homes, or programs from other companies to partner with. A citywide public outreach policy. The planning division has a outreach policy for development specifically, but there's not a citywide outreach policy. A skilled labor policy. I didn't have the exact verbiage, but I just kind of, skilled labor policy. Nancy knows what I'm talking about. This one's hers. Creating a citizen commission overseeing SVP and development project construction timelines and possible penalties if those don't occur. Secondly, before we go on to discussion, I did put together, there were some requests for study sessions. So I put these together as one future thing. This is not something you necessarily need to talk to the council about, but something for me to work on setting up for you all. And getting your input. If you know somebody you want to come to speak, that's really my job to get that to you. So study session with Silicon Valley Power, Public Works around traffic engineering and our environmental programs, BTA. This one I'm not totally sure on how I would get this one done, but the impact of housing laws on the city's transportation and utility systems. That could maybe go into, a study session from Public Works around water, sewer, traffic, and then Silicon Valley Power. And then a review and study of data centers, and this one would be from a professional expert, so maybe not necessarily Silicon Valley Power, but someone out in the industry. And then the last category of items I called administrative items. A request for measuring success of Planning Commission decisions and possibly creating a subcommittee to create those metrics. Communication with City Council, creating a forum for more frequent opportunities to talk to Council. Improving communication of the Commission deliberations and recommendations to Council. The way that works right now is staff writes a staff report that sort of summarizes that, and there could be some additional recommendations from the council or the Planning Commission on how that can be better. And then the one around IT, I'm not 100% sure about this, but there was a request to make sure we helped our IT staff in doing what they need to do, but I'll let the commissioner discuss that one. So with that, I'll go back to our 12 items and let you all discuss one by one.
Thank you, Leslie. This is exactly how I envisioned, and you've summarized it so beautifully and crisp. So thank you for putting it all together. I will start because I went there with my interest on last year's highlights and the data supporting our actual charter-related recommendations. So yes, numbers aside, I think just highlighting and of course acknowledging to ourselves the incredible amount of recommendations this body has provided in actually influencing the future of the city is a very big charge, and it's a very big accomplishment, including our zoning code update, our downtown precise plan, and our significant involvement with the housing element recommendations. Of course, we're still pending state. But I thought when I went through, and this was my own personal journey, I went through all the agendas from January, and it was just a moment to grasp. So thank you. So thank you for putting the 2023 accomplishments and a huge round of kudos to this body, including all staff. So while we were well in last year, and going to the next year, I should say for this year, I would combine a few and actually, data centers is going to be a hot topic. It's a given. And I do hope that the zoning code's reflection of what we asked, at least to some form of use permit level of control or review comes forward. But that aside, if we have to succinctly put, I would put EV charging, promoting solar, smart traffic lights, environmental programs, recycling, which is something I think we're all under sustainability measures for the city of Santa Clara. You could generally address any one of those under the umbrella of the city's movement, the city's sustainability goals and resiliency, and combine it such that it doesn't seem like, 5 different topics. And then housing solutions, definitely something that we should look at even as a study session, but I think the city, understanding the city's resources and capability, and again, when we come at juxtapose with county solutions, we've had projects where the county has acquired land and we are between a hard space and another hard space. I don't want to say it any other way. Yes, yes, rock and a hard place. Outside of that, under policies, I think we could still combine the outreach policy, and I liked, of course, we have still the member sitting here, skilled labor policy, which is definitely under the purview of the city, and it's for us to just give them an idea about how important that has been in all of our planning commission approvals, land use especially, and Commissioner Biagini has been very thoughtful in bringing that as a consideration versus an actual implementation at this point. So I think combining might whittle it down. Yeah. With that, I'll open it more to the commission members for further deliberation, how any of you see your topics up there, or if you'd like to add, or.
Well, I would say like data centers, if we start off there, I would see that there's really different aspects of this. And the reason I say that is, number one, when I looked at it for a study session, standards for architecture and power usage and, location requirements, I'm not sure if the location requirement was one coming from my suggestion or others or combination.
That was another suggestion.
Okay. And the reason I say that is, I think, Lance, you'll agree with me that when you look at what standards for architecture and power usages in a data center, it is not a trivial topic. It is a very in-depth understanding how computers use power, how data centers work and such. And it would be very good for us to have people come in and talk to us about what can be done to be optimized. On the other side of that, one of the things that I had brought up specifically about data centers is the moment I heard about the request for additional emergency generators and looking at how much power was being talked about, like, yeah, it's under 100 megawatts. And I'm thinking, and it's like, okay, it makes sense. But I think there is a larger topic to be discussed, like when Nancy brought up, hey, why don't we put them all in one place? Well, here's the other part. When we talk about emergency generators and such, we can optimize this because those generators, yes, they do use scrubbers and things like that, but they still use diesel. Silicon Valley Power does have challenges with how much electricity they can generate for these places, but at the same time, there's optimizations. For example, I'll make it real quick. You can actually produce electricity in an optimized fashion at Silicon Valley Power using other than diesel that would then have power lines directly to this location that we're talking about that would be their backup. So it's like they're combining all that together to make sure that they can do it. And it would help Silicon Valley Power in the sense that, hey, we do need more capacity. We also need to update some of our what do you call it, the power lines and stuff like that, the infrastructure. Because when you look at EV charging, for example, we've already been told by the state at times not to charge our cars, right? So there's a lot of things that we can do if we look at it. It's a study session. It is not a trivial study session. But I think if we look at that, what can come out of it would be very important to the growth of our city and cleaning things up and making sure that, hey, the data centers that are here, I mean, we have 1% of the data centers on the internet, And we also have the three major manufacturers of AI, Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA. So there's a lot that can be done here in that study session. So that's not a trivial topic. But I think the key thing for me here is making sure that we communicate what we're asking to City Council, and also making sure staff understands what we're asking in this case. So if you need more help, especially with some of the suggestions that I know I came up with or anybody else came up with, this could almost be a lot to itself. So I want to make sure that at least the questions that we ask of City Council are clearly understood, and so that they're not saying, okay, well, wait a minute, you're talking about this. Like, no, we're trying to talk about this, you know?
Understood. And I think the study session is not just for Planning Commission. If we are really trying to educate ourselves, the City Council also should be engaged in that same study session. It should be almost a joint study session, because the future, as all of us are recognizing in the AI industry and in the magnitude of the growth that we are seeing within the city itself, we're all going to have to assimilate and understand the implication on infrastructure. That was, pretty much aligned with what I had said in an electric consumption. So it should be a joint session is where I'm leading for the education part of it. But Commissioner Biagini.
So I totally hear what you're saying, and here's a couple of concerns that I have. One is the order in which we take these items, right? Because if we talk about data centers, specifically what you were talking about is
We're talking about several different aspects of
yeah,
data
but
centers,
that
right?
relates then to understanding resource supply to support growth. So it's kind of like, what do we do first? And a part of me almost wonders if the data center in and of itself is a subject matter that's more than one meeting. Because as I look at these items, EV charging, promote, the what do you call that, green, yellow, highlighted ones, right? I mean, they're also kind of related to understanding resource supply, but so is data centers. That's when I come down to the order in which we take it, because illuminating what we're talking about under data centers can naturally lead to a discussion about understanding the resource supply to support the growth.
Agreed. Yep.
And here's a big concern I have. We have a joint session set up. And I think I'm pretty much on safe ground to say I doubt it's going to be enough time to really get into some of these items that we like. And I know that everybody's busy and all that happy stuff, but I almost think we ought to set aside time for more than one joint session with the City Council, because otherwise I'm afraid that we're going to get into short shrift on some of these issues and the full understanding. I'll be honest, I'm not even sure I necessarily have the depth of understanding that Priya and Eric have about power supply and electrical and the rest. I want to be able to explain it to a 13-year-old, okay? And I want the City Council to understand it at that depth as well. And then, of course, well, you all know my favorite item, number 10, but I think that has the potential, and I think you're right, citywide public outreach policy and skilled labor policy, we're talking about policies, and I think while those probably aren't the need for the in-depth discussion that items 1, 3, and yellow highlights have, I think that some of the feelings around those subjects can be a little hot, which is why please do give us a copy of your points that you brought up, because you explained it so well. So I don't want something like that to get short shrift because it doesn't require the depth of 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Well, maybe what we do is the data centers, what I want to make sure is that we are asking the right questions.
Right.
Not coming up with necessarily the solutions. And so I agree with you. We want to keep it to the point. But for example, skilled labor policy. That's no trivial thing either, because I can certainly bring up topics like, well, should they be considering things like how many people are trainees on a particular job?
Right.
Are the employees that are coming in, the labor unions, are they people literally from outside our state coming in, or are they local?
Right.
So
Well,
there's a
those
lot that needs to, we don't want to short shrift that one either.
You're absolutely correct, because I've seen that happen in my lifetime, where, well, we're using union labor, it's coming from, with due respect to anybody from Mississippi, it's coming from Mississippi labor unions because it's cheaper to import them. But I think, yeah, the whole point of the skilled labor policy isn't necessarily to say you have to hire union labor, but I think it probably is a pretty good bet that it's the folks that are in the union labor that have gone through the approved, and there's a lot of fly-by-night apprenticeship programs out there too that I don't think have the same curriculum or same respect that some of the union ones do. So it's like, yeah, where are they trained? Where is it coming from? You're right, it's not a short answer, and I don't want it to get the short shrift, because at the end of the day, instead of one of us, yeah, I know, me, bringing up constantly every time there's a big project, it would be a lot better if the city council came up with that recommendation, because it just streamlines a whole lot. But that's why the discussion, how many people, what are the accredited and approved apprenticeship programs, training, is it in-state? Because again, it's not just about unions, it's about people that live here being able to get the work that,
And asking the right question.
that's right.
And not trying to say we're coming up with the answer, but at least
Yeah.
make sure we communicate, hey, these are our concerns, and this is the things that we're
Right.
trying to do. Because like you said, there's a lot of stuff on here. And I think, Chair, organizing them in things that logically flow together makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah.
Correct. And again, know that, we're only recommending topics, Commissioner Lance.
Right.
Yay. So I didn't expect us to kind of dive into these sort of out of order, but this is good. One of the things that we, as a commission, have to realize is that none of these topics stand alone. There are interdependencies and mesh effect of almost everything, EV charging, affordable housing. All of this ties together. So we really shouldn't try and focus too heavily on one item without the consideration of the impacts on the others. On data centers, I was not going to suggest that we limit the conversation and study sessions to ourselves and council. I think at this point, it would be highly advantageous to have staff that are going to be ultimately responsible for crafting ordinances, developing policies, and pursuing the communication between the commission and council to attend and contribute to the conversation. This isn't it shouldn't all go through one person, try and be condensed, and then disseminated back out to everybody. We could invite others from staff, hold a meeting. I know this is tough for a lot of people at work, but hold a meeting more during the daytime when others could attend. And that way we get the benefit of having a wider audience of knowledgeable people to contribute to the conversation. I wish we had done this 2 months ago.
Let me ask you a question about that real quick. When you said, the Planning Commission and staff, what about, let's say, people, the people that make the data centers?
It's open
yes?
to the public.
Okay, that's why I was just
yeah,
asking.
it just-
But should they be
it's
part of
just-
that committee, or should they just be normal?
Oh, gosh, no. It's not even a committee. It should theoretically be a full commission meeting with the invitation to the public to contribute and be a part of it. Inviting in experts is another option, because I can't claim to be an expert on any part of this. I have experience in it, but that does not make me an expert. I am not a published author or a noted representative for EV charging. I simply understand it. So having...
Involving all the stakeholders.
Yes, it's all, there you go, perfect word, stakeholders. People that are going to be involved in developing the policies and procedures and recommendations. And then council is going to be the ultimate authority, obviously, as we have reviewed by our policy, or our job as a commission. They're going to be the ultimate arbiter of how to get these things implemented in a way that developers are made aware and buy into it also. Because one of the things I suggested was around increasing our EV charge requirements for new development. It's something that I understand because of the accelerating curve around EV adoption. We're building our requirements on a linear scale. EV adoption is accelerating. That kind of thing, if we get even a year or two behind the curve, we will not be able to catch up. No development will be able to supply sufficient EV charging when we hit the 60-80% range. So hopefully we can get those conversations moving soon enough. Thank you. That's my whole spiel.
Thank you, Commissioner Salem. Any, Commissioner Bhatnagar?
Thank you, Chair. Just listening to our conversation and looking at the scope of even just these 12 that you've listed there, plus the other 8, et cetera, on other pages, just a thought maybe we should consider. We've had a new city manager, right? And we've had a brief introduction, I believe, but wouldn't it be advantageous for us, all commissions and city council, to have the city manager articulate a vision for the next 5 or 10 years? And here's what I'm thinking. Planning Commission is just one commission. There's the Parks Commission, there's the Salaries Commission, there's 15 other commissions, and they have a similar list. I hope so, right? So this encompasses a huge, multidimensional world that we live in. Somebody needs to articulate that. And a city council mandate to have the city manager develop, with all these inputs, develop a vision that says, I'm going to take this data centers in year 1 and environmental recycling in the year 10, or however they want to cut, and slice, and dice it, right? Go look at it, plan it, and then present it to the whole public in support of what Commissioner Lance was saying, right? That would be a good start, and that would be a blueprint, hopefully, for the city council and for us to kind of start following. So that's a thought up for consideration.
No, I agree with that, because I want to add to that, you have to take everything that you want to do, figure out how much resources you have to do it, and then prioritize what do we really want to do first. And I agree, it has to be everything. City manager sounds, since the city manager is not here, I will be happy to volunteer his time to do that.
Can I add something, Chair?
Yes.
So the city council and city manager are meeting with all the boards and commissions, doing the same thing that you all will be doing. So they will be hearing sort of each commission's and committee's priorities. And then the council will be then turning those into their own city priorities for the coming year. So you are definitely feeding into that, and the city manager is starting the structure for this. So at the joint dinner, the city manager will also be there and as a part of the presentation as well.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Biagini.
When I look at number 8, supporting housing solutions, I'm not sure that, when is this meeting, the joint meeting, I'm sorry, January 31st?
30th, yeah.
30th?
30th.
Oh, on my birthday?
Okay, everyone.
So that means I know what I want for birthday present. You guys all- Anyway.
You want number 9, I know.
10. Anyway, so when I look at the housing solutions, though, I think what would be very beneficial, because, yeah, there is a lot of attempts, I think that's the best way to put it, by various cities in the Bay Area about tiny homes and the like. I think if we ever get into any in-depth conversation about it, probably isn't going to fit well the day we do the priorities, but it would be nice to hear from somebody who knows what the other cities did, what are the pros and cons of the approach that they took, because we're not an island. And I know even this issue of where do RVs park, right? Cities have tried various, I know Mountain View, I think, did. San Jose certainly has, I believe. But anyway, there's a lot of attempts out there. And before we start deciding one attempt sounds great, why not talk to a city that did it? We're all a little different, but we all could benefit from somebody else's successes and failures, despite well-meaning attempts. So I just want to throw that out there about housing solutions. I don't think that's the kind of conversation that we'd have time for in a priority setting session, but I don't want that to get missed if we do even a study session on what are the types of things one could do with housing solutions. The tiny homes and the RV parking would be good to hear from other cities.
Sorry about that. So one thing that is very apparent, we are talking about what the city council should consider for its next few years in its, visioning. And all of them are going to require a lot of subject matter expertise, data analysts, analytics, people, stakeholders, feedback, public input. So every one of those topics will have the breadth of information coming forward, including benchmarks.
It's knowing the right questions, right, Eric?
Knowing the right question, that's the hardest
Knowing
part.
that, yeah, exactly.
May I bring up one particular detail on number 5, promoting solar. If I may, I have solar from the city for heating my pool. So I'm going to be, I'm not trying to make any statements about my particular instance or whatever, but what I want to say is this. The city and the program that they do currently for that is severely understaffed, and it has challenges. And so I won't go into depth about it, but what I want to say is if we're going to promote solar, take care of the programs you already put in place. And with that, I think if we do talk to city council, I think that should be part of the discussion. We have the solar for pools. How is it working? Where are there issues with it? And if we start doing solar panels, how is that going to work?
Yeah, what is it? How are we doing? And how can we do it better, right? Moves down that continuum.
Yes, it does. And also aligning, obviously, any of these, we should also look at aligning with, state, federal, right? Because state, obviously, like when we talked about electric fences, state already had several ordinances out there. So, we should have an alignment with that, and that's where I think staff would know
Is
best
that where
better than us.
Xander comes in?
Recommend about what goes on with state in these different areas?
Yes.
Don't hate.
Volunteering more people for other work besides me.
So let's go down the
Yes.
other topics. And this is something that has always been close to my personal interest. What is the future for Great America? And is there an opportunity to actually influence early on rather than wait for it to be a reactionary approach? So that's why I've always brought this, and I think it's there in our previous 22 as well as my current recommendation. But that area is like, it's again a jewel for the city of Santa Clara. We now speak about Levi Stadium. Related is a massive project that's also intended to draw. We have other destination-related projects that we have brought forward, and there's just so much opportunity to do with that big quadrant of projects. So that's why, looking at the potential, we don't have one, and to see if we can
Don't
recommend.
build something great and then wipe out stuff that was great. It's like,
Exactly.
what do we have? How can we do it better? Not what do we have, and doing it better means taking that away and building something different. It may not, but it needs discussion, yeah.
Exactly. And then just my 2 cents again, EV charging and smart traffic lights, environmental programs and promoting. By the way, just solar is going out of business in many, many, many cities. Just giving context because it's no longer revenue and not even sustainable. I'm sure we'll find other ways. But I wanted to make sure that they almost become the DNA for projects. It's hard to separate EV charging from any project anymore. I mean, city just ramped up and started installing. But knowing also that EV charging stations, just generally, EV cars do not reduce greenhouse gas emissions. In general, I mean, you still have.
In order to make the electricity, you must. So it isn't totally zero.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't reduce, it's not a true sustainable measure because you're still in single occupancy vehicles, you're still riding.
Right, but making that electricity at a volume has its economies of scale, including less pollutants, hopefully.
Yes, agreed with all of those. But the thought is that we can combine those as almost we will get to become aware of it in our everyday awareness. But I'm sure from a perspective of city, we can say we are looking at all projects with the lens of future, including transportation corridors, smart traffic lights, and it's just got to become, AI is going to happen anyway. You might as well just take it as
It's already
given.
happened.
Yes, you might as well just.
Are you saying solar has had its 15 minutes of fame? Time to
Exactly,
move on?
and we're done. But I do want to highlight at least some of the concepts of policies, and we'll definitely let the city know our interest in supporting a study with both the public outreach policy and labor,
Yeah.
and then citizen over commissions. They're all aligned with some sort of oversight with the city. I am curious, the development project construction timelines, whoever recommended that, do you want to talk a little more about what the goal of that topic?
That was Commissioner Booza. Second. And
Is that from a private developer?
so so what he did is he referenced a site on El Camino that had a project but has never been built. Their permits have now expired, but it's a vacant building that's been shuttered. And his thought was to give them a limited amount of time in which to require them to demo the buildings once the project was approved. I don't know that that's the best answer, or that we could require people to demo their buildings.
Which one is
but
that? Is this?
It's on El Camino.
I'm sorry, which topic is this one?
Oh,
12.
number
12.
12.
Okay,
Sorry,
thank you,
number
thank you.
12. But really, I think this falls into a vacant building ordinance, which is something we discussed last year. There are cities that have vacant building ordinances, and there's requirements for how they have to keep those buildings and fines for such, et cetera.
Is that
Is
the
that-
one, sorry, is that the one on El Camino next door to,
In front of Target,
in front of
Oh, no,
Target?
Target.
in the,
There's one in
trying to think.
Calabasas that I know of that's Toll House.
Because I'm thinking of one that I know there's been a lot of complaints about. It's boarded up and they
yeah.
don't want to
That's Toll
sell
House.
till they
Is
get the
that
right price. and-
Calabasas and
Oh,
El
yeah,
Camino?
okay, yeah.
Cute flowers?
Yeah, so
instead
he
of-
actually had a couple of examples. Let me just, oh, you can't, I gotta reshare my screen, hold on. I will show you.
Well, I think the topic in general, when I did a ride-along with the police department, this was one of the things they asked me to look into.
Yeah.
And I absolutely agree, because when I asked the officer, would he show me one, he said, I won't even walk in there.
Neighborhood.
No, he said he wouldn't walk into the buildings because of how it's dark, you don't know what's in there, and there's a lot of things that you don't want to step on, and he said it's extremely dangerous, we don't want to do it. So I think that this is something we should bring up strongly with City Council, to enact an ordinance to say, look, if you're going to buy the place and, putting up fences, I'm sorry, those fences are meaningless. If anything, they help to hide what's going on in there. We need to say, look, if you're going to develop it, great, develop it. But if not, within 30 days or whatever, you got to demolish it,
So. this-
something.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, this was one example. It actually looks pretty good right here, on El Camino. And then the second example, which is farther down on El Camino.
Calabasas.
Calabasas,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
That's the one that's actually the really,
It is
Bad
this
place.
one right here.
No, it's across from the,
Oh, and so this is
That's
when we
another
get
one,
Yeah,
new
yeah,
complaints on.
yeah,
well,
and
yeah.
people keep breaking into it,
Yes,
and nobody wants to do anything about it.
Correct.
And
This
our
guy doesn't
fences-
want to sell till he gets, a few
So
more
this
$1 million.
actually looks pretty good right here. It does not look like this today.
but our fences are
it's bad.
limited to 6 feet, which in this case absolutely do nothing to, make these safe. And I really strongly want to see City Council enact some kind of ordinance to either tear it down or in some way to ensure that it's secured and have it
I'm with you.
monitored by the police department.
Absolutely agree.
so the vacant building ordinance, which is what I'm sensing, does our city have one, or?
We do not, no.
No, we don't.
So what we have is general property maintenance, so we can enforce on tall weeds. We can require people to board up windows, but that's about, for planning, for zoning, that's pretty much the tools at our disposal.
Yeah, that's what I've
The police
recommended.
department obviously has other
I mean,
actions.
I've recommended that to people that have complained, call code enforcement, but
They do,
what I
yes.
get back is, yeah, but then it just happens again, and nothing really is accomplished by that. So I think, yeah, vacant building policy, I'm with you on that.
Ordinance, yeah, okay.
So would we be okay to change this to vacant building ordinance?
Yeah, you can just sub-bullet that to say
I
it's
think there's
stemming
more.
from.
Yeah.
I think there's more to that, isn't there, about, isn't it also about when a project goes up and they say that, we'll start work at 6, we'll end at 5, and then the complaints come in. They were starting at 3, they went on until 9, they worked on the weekends. So I think that.
Yeah, but that's there.
That's, yeah.
That already is
That's
there.
all.
We do have construction
That's- or
hours,
that's-
yes.
that's
and-
again-
And we do enforce on those, and
Yeah.
we do get complaints, yes.
I promise you, I'm one of the ones that call up.
So I think we have a general framework. Could you go to the next slide?
Lance?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope.
I
I
just,
try to use the button, but I don't think the button's doing much for you.
it doesn't, there's no button indication.
So I did actually have an item on that, as Commissioner Busha might have shared. We need some accountability for not meeting start of work deadlines. When we approve projects, and like we have said, they sit idle for years, there should be some form of penalty from the city for having locked in particular standards and fees and everything before these things change, and then sitting on it and eventually even possibly reselling the property at a profit by avoiding having to begin construction. So I was hoping that we could find a way to encourage developers to a timely development instead of banking the product, or in this case, banking the land for indefinite periods.
It has to be balanced, and I agree with you, but like, for example, the apartment buildings that are over on El Camino, the other side of Lawrence, where that front area, it makes our city look awful,
Yes.
And it's like, do something with it.
Yeah.
Oh, the commercial that was not built.
Yeah, but I agree, like, there should be, like, hey, listen, if you have a reason, you have to come back and you can say, hey, here are the reasons why, and here's what I'm going to do, and, fine, we work with you. But at the same point, like, if you don't do what you say, there are consequences, and there's no consequences, they'll do what they want.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very dicey, and Xander will say we are now infringing into private rights, private landlord and rights. So it's a very delicate topic. There's usually the use permit that grants is a time-bound use permit, as is a building permit, as is, and the way around that they come is back for an extension. Some of us have seen those requests for extension. That's the time we either revive it or we say add new clauses to it. But situations like the pandemic do happen. So we have to consider, life. And we can't impose into privacy. It's like, I bought a property, there's rights, property rights. But that aside, I understand the general intent is to not have so much blighted or vacant properties. And so I would go with blight and vacant building ordinance, not just vacant building, because we are also trying to discourage people just languishing off their properties.
Yeah, I mean, it could even be as simple as, like, if you're going to have some structures up there that are vacant, that are constantly a source of problems for us, and you're going to continue on,
Then code enforcement.
you're definitely going to have to tear it down.
Yes. And usually it's under code enforcement.
Yeah.
Okay. Vacant. Yes. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you. So just one other, let's say, more procedural thought, following some thought process here. Leslie, actually, staff presented earlier on some of the slides where, what is the Planning Commission mandated to do, right? That is what we are here for. If I look at this list of things that we have, and also the second page, I might suggest that we think about prioritizing land use that is directly, for example, data centers, entertainment district, supporting housing solutions. These are directly related with our
Land use.
land use. So we might prioritize those. We might, of course, consolidate things and have less priority, for example, for process issues like this $150 fine and things like that, right? That's not really a land use decision, right? So that's another thought that we should put into this so that when we talk to the city council, it matches with what they expect us to do, right? What they hold us responsible for.
Agreed. And so if you go to the next, which is actually intended to be study session, is almost alluding to that same land use related topics, although public works is mostly for us to understand. But the topics of data centers with Silicon Valley Power, I'm sure, can be a combined. So it's not just Silicon Valley Power. I mean, they do a great job already. It's in conjunction with the impact to the consumption by data centers. And then the land use for us, for me at least, is the housing laws. We have so many density-oriented, but our city transportation and utilities have not caught up to it, or at least I'm not clear if we have the ability to support the future density that is projected. Because our city transportation is still evolving or is still figuring out where they want to go. So that was the land use study session, which are already correlated to the others. So with the resources that you saw in the previous slide to support growth is tied directly to that land use and development.
Again, I think the key here is making sure that we present this in the right way so they know what we're asking for and that we're not trying to ask for a solution, but we need to have these studies explore, exactly.
Specificity.
Yes. Any other thoughts?
I'll take my more than my fair share. One of the things that we were talking about as a group was data centers. I wanted to make it clear that my concerns around data centers is not specifically that there's a lot of them. I would like us to have the opportunity to do a better job of allocating where data centers are being able to be built, because I don't know, without the input from Silicon Valley Power, whether it is to our benefit as a city to have them clumped or to have them dispersed, or whether or not a limit on the number of data centers is appropriate so that we don't exceed our power requirements in the upcoming years. Part of that is a cooperative effort that we as the Planning Commission can designate land use and the number of permits for a particular industry type so that the health of the city continues indefinitely. And that kind of question and answer can't happen without the experts, in this case, Silicon Valley Power.
Exactly.
And data center developers, because I'm sure they have input too. So that conversation designates how we as a commission help to better plan for the future around that industry segment. And I tried to communicate it in my suggestions that if we have a cap of permits, right now data centers are lumped in with other industry types. It might be worth our city having data centers as an individual permit type so that you can then apply limits, permits, and ordinances specifically for that type of industry. I don't want to single them out, but I also want to make sure that we aren't grandfathering them in with other things that don't have the same impact and same limits on the city.
Well, there's a couple things to that. Number one, when we talk about data centers, let's be very clear about that. I think I want to make sure that I'm understanding and not assuming what you just said. There are data centers which are just pure data centers. Then there are large corporations that we all know about that have literally a data center inside there. So we're talking about both?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Perfect. Just want to make sure that's great. Number two, the other aspect of that is there's been discussions also about the aspect of you have this large building that's a data center that has very few people in it, and how does it get taxed? How is it contributing to the community? So when we talk about different ways it can contribute to the community, if it's going to use a lot of electricity, are there ways that everybody can benefit that they got to put in their fair share too? So I think that when we look at it, there's different ways to cut that I think would help promote the growth in a way that we can all accept.
And I mean, we can go on and on about this, so I just want to make sure that our topics are clear. Leslie, if you go to the next slide, the last bullet literally says, review and study of data centers, the electric consumption, and other benefits and impacts to be given by professional experts. So that kind of summarizes, in a way, our interest to understand and as well as educate ourselves and the community about what Santa Clara as a data center-centric city is becoming or will have. And I'm not discounting benefits. No doubt there's benefits galore. I mean, we become like the hub for AI, I guess.
But we've also obviously been more impacted at this point than we have, well, there's been benefits, but definitely we've had a lot of impacts, and if we don't plan properly, we're going to have, my key is when we look at this presentation, how do we, again, ask it and so that the city council understands exactly what we're asking for,
Yes.
that they understand the different aspects of it. So some examples help, but the way that we have this organized, is it a bit redundant? Like, why are we asking it in this way on the first slide, and then we're asking again for it here in this?
So just let me clarify, this slide is for you guys, it won't be in the presentation. So
Okay.
this is for.
This is not for
Yeah,
Steve's
for the
council.
planning commission, for staff to understand things that you would like to come to you in this next year.
This is
work on.
just
Yeah.
staff's
Okay.
review of what type of study sessions they should plan for and reach out to the appropriate industry experts
Right.
to plan the schedule.
Yeah.
So when we say that, first we get city council to say, yeah, we're interested in that, and then we decide who to talk to?
Well, I think we're going to do a study session irrespective of where the city.
Yeah.
I think the study session is agnostic to what city council will want to hear from us. The interest for us as a commission to let city council know that data centers are an important aspect of the city that should come under their purview, review, education, understanding in a lot more holistic way is what we convey.
Okay, now I'm confused, because staff has already told me that unless council is interested in having a study session, that it's not worth doing.
No?
That's what I was told.
Bye?
I'm not naming
Well,
names.
they're right there.
No, they're not there.
Say, no, it's
No, but-
okay.
but
Pe-
let's
I understand the
listen to it.
staff is here, but the person that said it to me was not here, and they're part of staff. But I'm not trying to put blame or anything like that, but I'm the new guy.
This is why we got to have more interconnectivity between commission, staff, and the like. I mean, I think you accidentally brought up a perfect example of the communication has to be more inclusive, cohesive, yeah. Because I don't think it has to, I mean, why can't we?
I just need to know the rules behind it, and then
gotcha.
I can follow that. But since I was told that unless it goes there and that this would be the opportune time to do it, then we couldn't really have a study session.
No.
So that confuses me. So I stand corrected?
Correct.
Thank
So
Study
Leslie,
sessions, let me just set, from the staff perspective, from planning commission perspective, study sessions are just a way we ask staff occasionally, and it does not depend on any other entity or body giving us approvals. It's a request. When they find the right professionals, there might be a budget impact. We make a recommendation to approve from our budget. The professionals come in and give us.
Okay,
It's
so
educational. It really is educational and learning.
then I need
for all of
staff
you.
to also make sure that everybody on your side is clear about exactly what that means, because I was told specifically that unless city council approves to do a study session, it's not worth doing.
Xander's.
No, maybe I can talk to you after.
You can talk to me after. Again, I
From
don't
the
want to name
looks I
names. I
see,
want
that
to
is
just move
not the
forward. And if
case.
if this is the thing, then great, let's move forward. That's fantastic.
And again, these are just what staff is saying, they are tracking, it could be few of it, it could, I don't see any way, all of it will happen, but these are our opportunity sessions. And so, we can always prioritize which ones can come forward. Yes, Lance?
So these are not siloed study sessions in the sense that we would reach out to Xander and to understand what the legal fences are around what we can and cannot recommend concerning specifics like data centers. Where are our boundaries? It's a staff involvement because they need to tell us what is in place and what isn't in place without having to review every document that the city has produced to generate an understanding of what we can and can't do as a commission. plus recommend, rephrase that, what we can recommend and not recommend to council as a commission. And it's our obligation to understand from experts what it is that is the situation right now with data centers for now and in the future, so that all of our conversations aren't just frustration, but they actually lead to some kind of action that is a benefit to the city. Because that's all we're here for, is trying to figure out what we can do to benefit the community that we're a part of. So for us to sit and groan about data centers is not going to produce anything valuable. So all of this is a joint effort, and I'm really going to lean on Xander for our legal boundaries. You know, can we say there's only so many permits? Can we? I don't want the answers now. I just want you to consider. Can we have some guidelines for what we can and can't do as a commission?
You mean, when we have the study session
Right.
on data centers, you'll want to know how far can you go, basically? What are some things that are within your toolbox that you could?
Right, exactly.
out.
Because spending our time in study sessions to better understand and just be more frustrated about it without having any possible action from it is wasting our time, public time, and your time. And I don't want to do that. I hope we can have some kind of action at the end of the process. Thank you.
You
And I'll
don't
just-
want to just understand.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add one more thing. I don't want to get into who says yes and who says no, but if there is a sense that I would like to think any study session that we ask for is we invite everybody else, okay? They can come if they want or they don't. But if somebody thinks somewhere in the organization that, no, you shouldn't have a study session on that, I would appreciate if staff would tell us why. Because that'll solve a lot of frustration. Okay.
Great discussion. Commissioner Wang? Okay. So thank you, staff. Again, I think the order in which the study sessions come about is varied. But if you go back to the previous slide to refocus, for City Council consideration, outside of going through the first draft slides of our charter, our accomplishments, for this fiscal year, for this year, our interest is to prioritize some of these topics for city's consideration, of which I will re-emphasize that data centers has come up in so many ways as a big interest for City Council to actually lean in and take a more defined look at how we approach future approvals for data centers. And that should be an educated decision on land use versus just cost they have an ability to apply. And that would be the way to see if the City Council would bite. The other is, again, please let me know, I'm going to combine a couple of the policy interests as something that the City Council should consider in its future, and combine the blues together. And then I'm going to ask for the ordinance as part of the third topic. And then I'm going to tinker with the entertainment district and the sustainability goals. But from a city perspective, let me know, because both the entertainment district and understanding resource supply, I can definitely highlight the entertainment district. But understanding resource supply, again, will be a study session, because we need to understand before we say anything to the city, like, you know, we have enough, we don't have enough.
We need you to do X. If we don't
Exactly.
know, we
So,
need you to
so
do
right now, I would say it falls in the realm of understanding the scope of that topic first. Lance?
No,
Okay.
I think I don't want to occupy a whole.
Okay. Any last thoughts, comments? And thank you again, staff. If you could send a copy whenever it's ready before, so I have an ability to assimilate. If I will invite other members of the commission right after. I want all our participation with City Council, so feel free as I queue for the discussions.
Okay.
I think there was only one item that didn't make the list that I had a vested interest in. Sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
I thought it would be helpful if we could allow commissioners to do a presentation of their own research topics and as a learning session. I know some of us have expertise in some areas that we could generate conversation on, but we can't dominate the time here. So Commissioner Crutchlow and I, and I'm sure others, have areas that they may want to put a 45-minute presentation on the agenda, speak, and then generate conversation and see if it's something the audience, well, in this case, the empty room, might want to participate in if they thought that they had an input. So
Absolutely. And is that in the consideration for study sessions?
I don't know if that's considered under study sessions or it's a separate item, because I put that under options.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, it would come under study session since it's not an agenda topic for a public hearing purpose, but it's a study session that we can definitely have subject matter experts from the commission members present and then solicit. Okay?
Just to help close things out, Madam Chair, if, again, my understanding is Ms. Xavier will send you the draft PowerPoint, you will then finesse it, and you will be giving this presentation to the City Council.
Correct.
A moment ago, you invited the other planning commissioners to provide you with additional input. That has to happen right now. It cannot happen after this meeting. Just a word of caution. So
Brown Act?
this is your
Completely
chance.
understood.
If you all individually want to give comments to Ms. Xavier, perhaps that's a way, but then she can't really relay it to the chair.
When is our meeting?
30th.
30th.
Is there any option to have a special meeting kind of devoted to this between now and then, that we could do an interactive feedback?
I
so
think
that
that
it's
would make
polished?
sense.
Yeah, I would be more than
would
happy
need
to
it.
participate.
And
Would it be more
Next
different than
meeting's-
what we just saw?
Yes, because it'll be based on the final slide deck that, or a
Yeah.
draft slide
I
deck.
think that would be
the
good.
Staff would be presenting or preparing.
Know that, okay.
Yeah.
Know that it's all staff resources, so
Yeah, I don't want to tap people's
I think it's
time too
important
hard.
enough that we should spend a little bit of time like that if we can. I understand that, we want to be respectful of staff time and things like that, but this is definitely our one time to get our 2 cents worth, or with inflation, 5 cents worth.
Text her right now.
Okay.
I mean, we have time now. Do you feel like you need?
Well, I don't think staff has had an opportunity to put together anything that we could actively review, so,
I thought that
I
was
don't think it would be a long session if it's a dedicated special session, but it would give us a chance.
I would definitely want to see what the final one that they're going to give us, what it looks like,
So
honestly.
you're just asking for the final version of this PowerPoint, correct? And for,
Yes.
to have a special meeting so you can all discuss together the final version?
Yeah.
Okay,
Without Brown Act violations.
gotcha.
Are you sure that's the final after discussion? Maybe you have another one.
That would be a final, but
Okay.
It'd be a file to approve it, and obviously it has to be public, right? So,
Are you looking at dates? Is that what you're doing?
I'm checking with my colleague to see if she can cover the meeting, because I'm not available the next couple of Wednesdays.
Yeah,
So
just let me
hopefully
know
I'll
a few
hear-
days in advance.
does it
in
have
case
to
I
be on a
have
Wednesday
swap
necessarily?
stuff out.
Let me-
the
yeah,
chambers
not
are
a
frequently
Tuesday, yeah.
busy. The
Yeah.
Tuesdays are the council, oh, she's responding right now, let me see.
Okay.
Yeah, she's available on the 24th.
Fourth, okay, so let's try does the 24th possibly work for everyone?
yeah.
Let me see if there's another meeting
Yeah.
in the chambers that night.
There's not, I just looked.
Oh, thanks, Elizabeth.
It's
Go, Elizabeth.
available. I mean, we're going to have to double check a few other things just to be on the safe side, but it looks like the 24th is available.
We can contain it such that it's just this topic and not have other interest
Yeah.
from members of public, so just announce it as a special meeting to discuss city council.
Yeah. The 24th seems to work, possibly the 22nd. It doesn't look like there's anything either, which is Monday. Oh, BPAC's at 4, never mind. If that runs long.
Okay.
They're in here, right? Yeah, they're in the council chambers. So it looks like the 24th might be our best bet. That works for all of you?
Once,
It has to
yes,
be noticed and
It has to be.
Yes.
Of course.
It has to be noticed, yes.
I'll have to change.
All right. Please, again, I think Elizabeth can do the confirmation for 24.
Yeah.
All right, seeing that we had a very robust discussion and we may have additional discussion at the next, we can move on to reports of commission, board, liaison, and committee members. Any announcements by staff or commissioners? Do we have any announcements that we'd like to, outside of January 30th being the joint Planning Commission, City Council dinner?
Is it possible for us to get an agenda for that meal/conversation to see if it's going to be sufficiently long? Is there an agenda? Should I ask that question?
Here, I'll bring up, I have the agenda, one second.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sort of hoping it won't be pizza. Not that I want to be picky, but
But it was filet mignon and
that would be, yeah.
This is the agenda that was given to me.
Okay.
Is there a target time duration?
I believe you have an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, that's not going to be.
bye-bye for the slide showing.
Is it at
Including
5
chewing.
o'clock?
That's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, an hour.
By the time we get through welcome introductions, report on accomplishments, brief update,
Thank
we're
you very much for
talking
being
20
here.
minutes?
We're talking way over already.
Yeah, it's not enough time, but okay.
And then we have the brief update by our city manager as well.
Well, that 24th meeting is going to be very important because what would probably be good is if we gave them something ahead of time maybe, or even a follow-up afterwards
Right.
saying, hey, by the way, we're going to make the presentation. We're here available for follow-up questions at a later date if you need, but also here's a write-up of what we're really asking for.
Yeah, and
exactly.
that's how it has happened in the past as well. We've pretty much just given our verbal affirmations, but most of it has gone in writing to say this is our request for you to consider for the future year, but we won't have time. I mean, to the level of discussion we had today, it's all going to go as a narrative.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to pretty much happen.
Noted and filed.
Okay. So then, staff, I think what the commission would be interested for 24th is the narrative.
Yeah.
Because we pretty much, I think with the city manager's topics, we pretty much would take up the hour very easily.
Maybe we just have some very good caffeinated coffee to encourage everybody to be very fast.
All right, so for the 24th, the revised, almost final PowerPoint presentation, and then the narrative that memo format.
Memo format.
That would be
And we
going
could just elucidate
council.
the
Okay.
data center,
Further
the
expand.
policies, the sustainability, the ordinance requests. Yeah. Great. Thank you, staff, for supporting in every way possible for us to have a very productive session. So again, going back to our topic here, that is for under announcements. Commissioner travel and training reports, request to attend trainings. I believe Elizabeth has some good news for us.
Well, actually, I've registered all of you for the 2024 State of the Valley Conference, Silicon Valley Leadership Group.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it'll be
Elizabeth. That's a
great.
huge one.
So everyone is registered for that. It's on your calendar, and that'll be coming up.
And that's March 1st?
March
Friday.
1st.
Thank you again, Elizabeth. That's a convention and a conference and network that I look forward to every year. Any other interesting conferences, trainings? Okay, I think we've covered for us future trainings anyway. All right, moving to the next order of item, Director of Community Development Reports, Planning Commission budget updates.
So with this registration for the conference, that was $386. So your balance right now is $14,872 for the rest of the fiscal year.
Thank you. Any upcoming agenda items outside of City Council? And of course, the next special meeting.
Our next special meeting, we have a couple of rezoning items coming up. I do believe at the next meeting, including a general plan amendment for office, if I'm correct.
Do we know where the housing element is?
So we got comments back from HCD, and we are currently responding to those comments. So we will be
Will that have to go
resubmitting.
back to City Council?
It will have to go back to City
And
Council
Planning
for readoption
Commission.
and Planning Commission.
Okay. Wow. And where is our zoning ordinance, zoning code?
Adopted yesterday,
Did they
24
adopt
hours
with
ago.
the changes Planning Commission
Yes,
recommended?
they accepted all of the Planning Commission's changes, so thank you for your detailed input.
Wow.
That will be in effect in 29 days.
Wow.
And also the downtown form-based zoning code.
Thank you.
Adopted last night as well. So last night, in about 30 seconds, was a banner night. Yeah. Both of those things got done.
Huge bodies of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations to, again, everyone in this
Yes,
room.
absolutely.
And outside on that incredible
The easy part is
accomplishment.
over. The hard part now comes.
In implementation. We actually went right into the city council action, so
Right, yeah. That's right.
any other celebratory approvals?
No.
Okay, but that was huge. Again, we are celebrating a 50-year update, plus 50. Historic update.
Is very true.
All right, seeing no other topics, am I missing anything else? We are officially
Motion to
adjourned
adjourn.
at 7:26
Yeah, just one,
by
just one item.
okay, Commissioner Wang.
Yeah, the email sign in. Do you guys
Oh, yeah.
every couple of days we need to sign in the email? It's
The IT?
Oh, the authentication process.
Oh,
Multi-factor
gosh.
authentication. It's security. You have to do it.
I mean
I do too.
no
Yeah.
no company or no whatever doing things like this.
I will be
Thank
happy
you,
to tell
Commissioner
you.
Wang.
I'll be happy
You
to tell you
said
the
something
companies to do
tonight
it.
that is the most powerful one. We will take a unanimous vote on that.
Nobody sign in email every couple of days.
I will tell you the companies if you'd like that
It's
actually
okay,
make you do
whatever.
this.
You know.
That must be the security, cybersecurity companies. But okay, City of
Yes.
Santa Clara, thank you. And it is a topic for IT under administrative tasks that we can give our feedback, and I'm sure
Okay.
they will hear a lot.
I think we can talk to IT, and there are more efficient ways to do it.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think so.
I support
Okay,
the
IT,
motion.
I'm assuming you're hearing this, but the meeting is adjourned at 7:27. Thank you all by unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Oh, consent. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Unanimous action.